I drank and I took some NyQuil, so I got like an hour. But yeah,
let's do it.
All right, we'll see you guys in a minute.
Attenzione! This is a podcast. Do not take this serious. We sure as shit don't. This podcast should not be considered professional advice or even 100% accurate. Any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. We're live, baby.
oh, I'm going.
And action.
Welcome to the Kings of Shit Mountain. Yes, what you've all been waiting for, the podcast directly devoted to the AFC South, is finally here. The most fantastic division in all of sports if you hate your life and contemplate the meaning of your existence. I am your host, one of your hosts here. You may refer to me as Swagger. All right. Let me throw it over to another co-host we have here. Doc.
What's going on?
We've got Evil.
What's good in the hood?
And we've got Coach.
I am happy to be here, but I am not happy about how this is going to go tonight, fellas.
Yeah, this is going to be a complete cluster here in the early goings. But, you know, we all got to start somewhere. So, who we are, we are AFC South fans. And by we, I mean two of us love AFC South teams. And we have a buddy of ours whose wife, told him that he couldn't do it. So, I, Swagger, Jaguars fan, unfortunately, hate them and love them more than any program that I've ever come across. And, done many happy and unhappy Duvals. I feel like I'm often the meme of that sad frog sticking a fork into the socket that's wearing a Jaguars hoodie. If you guys have ever seen that, I feel like that's my life. And so, there's a lot to be proud of as a Jags fan. The lowest winning percentage of all four major teams, or of all Big Four league teams, so it's a great time to be a Jaguars fan. Let me tell you. What about you there, Evil, the only other true AFC South fan here?
A true blue, baby. Let's go Colts. Go blue. And born, bred, probably bred in.
Huh? Inbred.
Inbred, big time Colts fan since early 90s, born, raised. Saw a lot of great success early on. And then, 2014 happens, the last good year. And then next thing you know, we can't keep it in our pants. We lose our quarterback every other year for some other reason. So I'm here. I want to relive the glory days and really make sure that, I can bring back life and energy that our owner can't, other than when he's outside the snow anyway. That's the only time we really see him energetic moving around. But other than that, I'm proud to be here. First time podcast co-creator, and I'm excited to see this train wreck of a show. All right.
I got to say that, I appreciate you trying to bring a lot of excitement back to the Colts fan base, but isn't that dude that sings those songs, isn't he bringing kind of like the exposure?
I do have some really good competition up in Indy, let me tell you. That's
yeah. So they get tired.
He was a fan of the year. So
yeah, well, again, that should go to somebody who roots for an AFC South team. I mean, let's be completely honest here. All right. So you've got Swagger, myself, Jags fan. You've got Evil, the Colts fan. Our resident Rain Man of the group for all things football is Coach. So when we thought we had a bigger crew, Coach was going to be our Texans guy because, you can't actually find a Houston Texans fan out there, maybe outside or definitely outside of Houston. So I've never met one personally. I've met more Jaguars fans, and I think it's like running into Bigfoot versus running into the Loch Ness Monster. You never know, which one you're going to see, but you don't expect either.
What?
So, Coach, tell us a little bit about your introduction to the Texans and why you're here with us.
Well, listen, fellas. When it comes to any kind of sports talk, whether it's on TV, podcast, radios, you need somebody who's rational. And by rational, you need somebody who knows what they're actually talking about. That's what I'm here for. We've got some emotional people here. We've got some people that have no idea what
that doesn't make sense. I don't even know why you would say something like that.
Yeah, so you guys know who we're talking about now, the emotional one. Okay. Now, I'll tell myself a little bit. Somebody told Swag that Trevor Lawrence is going to be really good.
Wrong.
Hasn't happened yet. Could still happen. Okay, but
Still waiting
as far
for it
as
to
the
happen.
text, still waiting on a lot of things to happen too, like growing, but that hasn't happened yet either. But what I can tell you is, I devote a lot of time and effort into getting to know the Texans as a team, and I have time, just not in the last couple of years, but over their entire existence. They're as old, they're younger than us. And what I can tell you is, as the best team in the AFC South, the best team in the AFC South, they need to be represented. And I'm here to tell you why they're good, why they're going to continue being good, and why they're going to make everybody in this group really, really sad.
Well, as of now, that kind of looks like that's going to be the case for the foreseeable future. So we're going to throw it up to kind of like our jack of all trades. Doc is a Packers fan by birth, but because he's such a good guy and we love him so much, he's kind of our producer, fact checker. I guess he's going to kind of tell us what we get wrong. I mean, I don't know how we could get anything wrong in any of these conversations. Doc, what brings you to the Kings of Shit Mountain?
Well, I'm not used to being around like shit teams because Green Bay is always pretty good. But you guys needed a Titans person, I guess, because our Titans fan didn't want to join. There probably won't be much looking into the Titans, how coach is doing with the Texans, because the Titans are the worst team, and nothing that they do will be good. So
I would like to throw out, being a fact checker and all, that the Bears did pretty well against the Packers this season.
Bears are terrible still.
Sorry, I had a comment I was going to make, but then I knew it would be our first up. Edit that out.
Through the rough patches, baby. Through the rough patches.
Through the rough patches. Here
Love
we
it.
go.
Live. What more do you want?
So, some of you who may not be familiar, with the NFL, with the divisional breakdown of things, may be asking yourself, why is the AFC South referred to as Shit Mountain? Okay, and there's a lot of reasoning for that. The horrible records that our teams consistently throw up. Again, I said it in the opening, the lowest winning percentage in the NFL since, I believe, 1995 belongs to the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, and the lowest winning percentage in the NFL. We've got less draft picks that are ever staying on our team. Okay, within the first 3 to 4 years, they go off, they find success in other places. You look at Dante Fowler and Jalen Ramsey when they were with the Jags, and then go to the Rams and win a Super Bowl, right? So we don't know what to do with our talent. And for the Jags, for Duval and the Jaguars fan base, it's painful. It's painful, and things don't really get all that much more excitement for us. I mean, we get a brand new head coach coming in, who sounds like a sneaky wizard with his Duval. We all know that's not how you do it, right? All right, we all know it's Duval. So Liam Cohen, he's got to work on that. He's can't be any worse than what we've had lately, but you get a GM who's barely older than, a high school kid who gesticulates way too much. I know that's a big word for Colts fans. Gesticulate is when you move a lot with your hands and do some of this, and he's just always cutting it right here. No Elon Musk movements yet, but definitely too much with the hands. And, on top of that, you're going to hear me talk about this multiple times as we move through this podcast. Trevor Lawrence is a bust, first and foremost. And I am probably the only Jaguars fan you're ever going to hear say that, but I called it from the beginning. All right, these guys can back me up on that. And when you pay a bust quarterback the highest amount of money of any quarterback in the league, you're an idiot. You're a dumb franchise.
What year is it going in?
I don't care. He needs a haircut, and he needs to retire.
Can we fact check that most money just to make sure 100% sure? That'd be nice just to hear that again for sure. That'd be really nice to hear.
He and Joe Burrow are paid the exact same, I believe. It's 155 or something.
I tell you what, I believe you, but just to hear somebody else reiterate it and not just you, it's gonna warm my heart a lot. So I feel like, again, I admit early on that I thought for sure T-Law was going to be the man, and he hasn't. Admittedly, you have reason to be upset and frustrated.
Yeah, I do. Thank you for what's the word in therapy when you somebody
Validating your feelings.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I needed my feelings validated. So
You know
yeah,
what? As much as
that's go.
I know you feel bad about. I know you feel bad about Trevor Lawrence, but let's be honest. You know, there's somebody who's got a lot more hype and a lot more talent who's probably been worse. And let's say this: Trevor Lawrence hasn't been great. He's never tapped out of a game because he's tired. Right, Evil? You know something about
We
that?
all get tired. It's okay. Take a nap. Go sit down. Third, fourth down, big point of the game. It's okay. Take a breather. Go get some Gatorade. It's okay.
It's only because he runs for his life every game.
Yeah, because we have nobody. That's the thing. So before we got on this call, and before we started this generational, life-altering podcast, I wanted to see what our friends at ChatGPT had to say about Colts' future. And when I pulled up, hey, what can the Colts do in the next couple months to see what they can do better? Well, there's a laundry list of things that popped up. All right. And one thing that I found highly enjoyable, was the fact it mentioned overall team culture needs to be improved. And how to do that, addressing the team culture and making sure that accountability is enforced. Right. That's a bullet point from our great friends with Elon Musk and our other nerdy friends that are way smarter than I am. Accountability. And you know what? Speaking of accountability, I'd like to take a quick pause. And we talked a lot about money a minute ago. I'd like to give a shout out to all our sponsors that are helping sponsor us right now. And that's the list. So thank you all for who are here sponsoring this great video.
Thank you.
So again, we all want to shit on the Blue, right? The best mascot in the whole league. I think that is hands down the best, most accurate statement I can say.
Let's table that for a later episode because there's no way that Blue is better than Jacksonville. But let's go.
Blue is all right. So I would like to point out though, since 2002, when the AFC South, as we know it, was created, the overall record of all the teams combined is an astonishing, mind-blowing 746 wins and 747 losses. So we are the epitome of excellence, right? We piss excellence.
Yeah, we did.
Is that good?
I think it's probably horrible. I haven't compared anybody else's. I don't care to compare
Not
anybody
good
else.
at math.
But I would like to say there's one there of the AFC South, and AFC South has represented the Super Bowl twice, both times being Indianapolis, baby. So we got a little bit of we can piss on you guys a little bit more than others can piss on us.
You know what else?
So we'll take a break every now and then. We'll take a break.
You know what else Indy's famous for doing twice?
Hanging banners, baby.
Having two quarterbacks that pussed out.
Hey, we let go of
shot
Aiden.
fired.
We let go. Oh, you're talking about
Andrew Luck.
Hey, mental health. You gotta take care of your mental health.
I don't give a
Speaking of banners,
fuck.
how's that AFC finalist banner looking for you?
Barstool Sports bought it. A rival company of ours bought it. So they can do what they want with it. So we don't talk about that.
I'm pretty sure that the Colts have also the longest. Like they haven't won the division in the longest. The Titans have won it. Jacksonville's won it before the Colts have won it the last time.
2014. That's
There's
correct.
a fact check for you. Yep. There's a fact check.
That
There
is
he
true.
is. There's our guy.
Speaking of fact checks, Trevor Lawrence is not the highest paid.
Bullshit.
Dak Prescott is, which is not good. So
Okay, can you verify at some point where he is in the list?
he's second with Joe Burrow and the great Jordan Love.
Okay, so thank you. And I'm going to say another controversial take here. I think everybody would accept the fact of taking Joe Burrow and maybe even Jordan Love over Trevor Lawrence at this point. I'd take Dak Prescott over Trevor Lawrence at this point.
What?
Anyways, Trevor Lawrence is eventually going to sue me on this podcast at some point.
Oh, we're getting sued by everybody at some point.
But
Mark our words right here. Episode 1.
So Shit Mountain again. Thank you to Evil for laying out that abysmal record of below 500 since what'd you say, Evil, 2002?
Since 2002.
Okay, so that kind of goes to reiterate that. But let's just all take a minute and shit on the Titans here. Okay, tighten up for a minute if we.
What's up, baby?
It seems like ever since they ended up 1 yard short They just haven't been able to recreate anything and put it back together. You've had some great players come through Tennessee, and you've had talent. They kind of seem almost, and I think this is why the Jags and the Titans really hate each other so much, is because we're so similar in that regard. Think about some of the players that have played for Tennessee that have found success elsewhere. A.J. Brown, Super Bowl winner, right? One of the best wide receivers in the league. Doesn't do anything really with the Titans. And, when your quarterback puts mayonnaise in his coffee, allegedly, something's wrong. Something's wrong. So, but I think they also have earned their place here. Now, again, there's only 2 teams that have made Super Bowl berths in the AFC South. That would be the Indianapolis Colts and the Tennessee Titans.
Titans were before the AFC South, though.
Okay, being valid. So it doesn't count. Let's nix that. All right.
Number 1, baby.
But from an outsider's perspective, kind of, and you paid attention to the Titans a little bit, just being friends with the Titans guy. Why do they deserve their place here in Shit Mountain?
They're definitely the worst team. I don't know how you mess up having Derrick Henry, the best running back in the league, probably behind Saquon. Mess that up. Get rid of A.J. Brown for nothing. They just can't figure it out. I don't know why.
I will say the Tennessee Titans are the best thing to happen to the Indianapolis Colts in a long time. Because of everything that our fact checker just stated, that has saved us from 4th place year in and year out.
And the Indianapolis Colts are the only reason the Jaguars fans don't jump off cliffs like lemmings, because we get at least one every year.
We're all here to help each other. We're all here to help each other.
It's really like a support group. Like, you could listen to this podcast for your mental health, I think.
You know what's really sad about the Titans, right? Is you think about, like, where do you want to go on vacation and all the places in the world? Like, how high is Nashville on the list? Usually pretty high for a lot of people, right? And you have that place for people to go to, and you can't put it together. I mean, hell, the Predators have been to a Stanley Cup more recently than the Titans have gone to the Super Bowl. I mean, that's crazy, right?
Everyone has houses in Nashville.
Yeah. And, maybe it's because I feel like the main group that visits Nashville is like bachelorette parties, but just because there's a lot of bachelorette parties there doesn't mean you got to play like a bunch of bachelorettes.
I mean, look at last year, Vanderbilt, good in football. There was crazy, yeah.
Beat Bama,
crazy.
Probably could have beat the Titans. No.
All right.
Let's not go crazy. I know. I know. But
all right.
It's hard to not attack the Titans when the Titans fan doesn't even show up to this podcast.
Uh-oh.
I know. That poor guy. He's going to get so much shit on this podcast that he's probably never going to listen to. But you know what? I digress. We'll have him on someday. After we're making millions, we'll have him on and be like, you could be doing this right now, We've talked about the 3 shittiest teams. Let's go to the current AFC South champion, the Houston Texans. Coach, I know that they are currently the champions. They currently they have the best roster of any AFC South team. They probably have the best outlook of any AFC South team currently as we stand here. But we're talking about the history here. We're talking about why they are still in and deserve a place in Shit Mountain.
Listen, I'm going to give you 3 names that I know will just say more than I need to say, right? David Carr. 1. Brock Osweiler. 2. The David Johnson trade. 3. I mean, do you say more anything else? If you want to throw one more on there, wearing the Lettermans going into New England on a Sunday night, how'd that go for them? Not so good. So, Texans, obviously the newest team in the whole league, not just in the division. They've had a decent amount of successful last year, the year before that. There's a lot of crap in that history. A lot of crap. And it showed up even more this year. We'll get into things that happened in the last year, but the team that's known for getting their first ever number 1 pick, getting his ass kicked in the backfield, sacked multiple times, showed up again this year with another promising quarterback. So Titans have some success. The Texans have had a lot of success, a lot of failures, and a lot of stuff you can laugh at. And, Billy O'Brien had some good things here, but nobody would ever have done that David Johnson, DeAndre Hopkins trade straight up again. I mean, you want to talk about the A.J. Brown trade looking bad? David Johnson did nothing for Houston. So despite recent successes, they 100% deserve to be here. And the AFC South is what it is because of the collection of these 4 teams and the absolute suck they bring. And I, for one, am happy for it.
But
So
go ahead, Evil.
I'm just gonna say I'm over here doing a doctor's job and looking up some statistics and being fact checked over here. I was actually unaware of this. I knew Indy, my great team, had the most AFC Championship titles with 9. Obviously, probably it's safe to say. I think everyone would say Texans had the second most. Anybody know how many?
2.
2.
They have 8.
No.
2 is you, Jacksonville Jaguars, and followed by 4 with the Tits. So I was just very caught off guard that the Texans are kind of climbing up on this shit mountain.
I'll tell you what, you know why they're you don't notice them? Because they get in the playoffs, they win a wild card game, then you don't hear anything else from them again. So it's very much one and done. They don't make any deep runs, and that's the one step they got to take that next one on.
You know, and I think again this is a fact check thing, but I was looking at reasons during this last season of not to jump off a mountain. But the Jacksonville Jaguars, believe it or not, have never made the playoffs and lost their first game. Every time they've made the playoffs, they've won at least one game.
Which is
That is saying
hilarious
something.
because the Texans have never won more than one game in the playoffs.
Exactly. So, you know, there's just
Stuff out there.
there's shit to go all the way around with this division. There's just, you have good, you have bad. I mean, think about it for a second, right? Let's go back a little bit to when it was shit, but it was fun shit. You know, I'm talking late 2000s, middle 2010s. Think about the running backs that played on these 4 teams for a second.
Edward James,
Well,
Joseph
not-
Adai.
You're going way too far back. I'm talking like Maurice Jones-Drew and Chris Johnson and Arian Foster and who was the Colts running back at the time?
Joseph Adai for a little bit.
It might have been
I think
Adai.
late 2010-ish was Joseph Adai, and then we had who do we have after that? Oh, the kid out of UConn. What was his name? First round pick, kid out of UConn.
Donald.
This goes to
something.
show
Donald-
you how much they mattered.
For real, man. We haven't had we had a big space. Joseph Adai, people want to give him credit. He did all right. He was trash. Absolute trash. He was only good because he had a good line. We haven't had a good running back between Jonathan Taylor and Edwin James. No one in between.
Anyways, there was even a time not long ago where you were thinking that there could possibly be 3 teams making the playoffs out of the AFC South. I mean, you go back to 2018, 2017 when the Jaguars make the AFC Championship. Miles Jack wasn't down, by the way, just for everybody to understand that real quick. And even the GOAT, Tom Brady, admitted it. But you talk about a scenario where they were talking about 3 teams making the playoffs. Even this last season, before everything started up, they were like, hey, Colts kind of rebuilding. Jaguars, all right, coming off a less than stellar season, but looking to rebuild. And then the Texans coming with CJ Stroud's season. I mean, you talk about there's always hope, right? And hope is a dangerous thing. Hope is an extremely dangerous thing. So I'm going to jump around a little bit. Our fact checker doc, just Donald Brown. Thank you very much. I can see him. I just can't remember his name. Anyways, I think it's a good transition. We'll go and we'll jump around a little bit. What is your hope for this season? We talk about hope being a dangerous thing. Going into this next season of Shit Mountain, what's the hope for your team? Evo, I'll start with you.
Well, we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier tonight. I'd like to say my big number one hope is that my quarterback can play a whole game without taking a freaking break. That's hope number one. But realistically, I would like to see him throw for at least 3,500 yards next year. I think if we could draft somebody, I know we're talking about the draft either today or later episode. If we could draft a friend of his, a tight end, because we have a hell of a running back, a quarterback's best friend, he needs to succeed and he needs to excel. And the way to do that best with a young guy who has no confidence because he gets pulled for a 50-year-old man, you got to give him someone to dump it off to. And dump it off to, same thing. I don't know. So that's my goal is 3,500 passing yards.
Do you even know if he's going to be the quarterback, though? Because there's going to be a QB battle, according to the general manager.
Yeah, and so that's the thing. I think we got to give him another year. I don't think he's the answer long term. I do think we need to give him at least one more full year before we say no. And if he doesn't want to play the full year, then that's the answer for the future, in my opinion, too.
All right, let's talk about now the Texans. What is the hope for the future of the Houston Texans?
My hope for the Texans is that Nick Caley understands his offensive line deficiencies better than Bobby Slowick did. Listen, just go back and look at the stats for the Texans last year. 28th in red zone offensive touchdown scoring, 30th in quarterback sack percentage, 28th in penalties along the offense, 20th in pass. I mean, you got a quarterback who was so good, and nobody thought a quarterback coming out of Ohio State was going to be as good as C.J. Stroud was. And he was amazing. And then within 1 year, everybody wants to talk about his massive progression. Listen, when you're getting pressured like he was, you're not performing well. So I have high hopes that Nick Caley, who spent time in New England, who spent time in Los Angeles with Sean McVay, the whiz kid, is able to better put together a game plan around his superstar quarterback, talented running back in Joe Mixon, a pretty good grouping of receivers, and what they'll add to it will be exciting to see as well. And the offensive line that I know they have to address in the offseason. So I am hoping that Nick Caley can bring the Houston Texans offense back to relevancy.
All right. I think you got it there. I'll jump in here. I already kind of poo-pooed on the Jaguars draft recently, and by recently I mean since 1995. But in the next 2 years, the Jacksonville Jaguars have 22 draft picks, 10 coming up in this year's draft. I think our new whiz kid GM's probably going to trade around a little bit and get rid of some of those picks. But you're talking about a possible 22 draft picks coming in, including the number 5 overall pick this year. So I think there is potential for you break the system, you start over again, you bring in some new guys, you bring in some fresh blood, and you have to, this is like what we saw in 2019, 2020, 2021, where the guys that were studs for the Jags started to leave, and we got rid of them. We got rid of the Dante Fowlers, the Caleb Von Chasons, the Jalen Ramseys, Blake Bortles, Leonard Fournette, and you started to rebuild, and you had minimal success by winning the South in the most ridiculous way possible at 9-8. But you have a lot of logic. There's a lot of logic base in saying, hey, we can bring in some new guys. Also, one thing I want to highlight is I was wrong on Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, my God.
And we'll talk about the draft here in a little bit. But I was fully on board for drafting the great white hope, Cooper DeJean, when he was sitting there available. And then our idiot GM, God rest his soul, he's dead to me. He's not really dead, but Trent Baalke decided he was just going to trade out, and he ends up taking BTJ, Brian Thomas Jr., and I was livid. All right, and I said this was going to be the worst. But just a quick little tidbit about BTJ. Breaks the rookie franchise record for receptions, breaks the rookie franchise record for yards, breaks the rookie franchise record for touchdowns. 25th rookie in NFL history to reach 1,000 receiving yards. One of 6 rookies since 2000 to get 1,000 yards and 9+ receiving touchdowns. All right, he also tied a certain wide receiver's rookie record of having the most games with 60 receiving yards and a touchdown, which would be Randy Moss. So I think there's some good hope. And if Mac Jones can make BTJ look good, it's not that. It's not that. It's BTJ making the scrub quarterbacks on the Jacksonville Jaguars look good. Trevor just needs to kind of do the Kyler Murray to DeAndre Hopkins in the end of the end zone in the Cardinals game and say, get BTJ down there somewhere. And he needs to hit that dude. So I think we got a young star in the making, the last young star in the making, really a superstar potential. I think Jalen Ramsey could have been something. And I would say that he's probably still one of the premier corners in the NFL. But if we can keep BTJ happy and give him a supporting cast, I think you're finally looking at more of an explosive offense once our quarterback cuts his hair and learns how to throw the ball.
So if you're still with us after that long-ass explanation of how shitty the Jags are going to be in the next 5 years, I'd like to give you a quick break in the action with what I call Piss Poor Parlay. we all kind of pick one random ball related, but we're the off season. There's only the draft to talk about. Anything we do, we're trying to make you money because we need money ourselves. The more money we make you, ideally you help us. So my piss poor parlay is St. John's going to the Final Four in men's basketball during March Madness. That's my pick. That's my lock. I'm a Ricky P guy. St. John's, baby. And I don't even know if you can. Wow. I don't even know if you can bet on these yet. I just assume you can. So I got plenty more. But that's St. John's. That's a lock.
I got one keeping within the facet of college basketball. You listen to this podcast long enough, it won't take you very long to figure out the majority of us went to West Virginia, and one of us went to a school that's sponsored by Adidas. So that should tell you everything that you need to know about that.
Like I said, hookers are great, man.
But
hookers are great.
My piss poor pick is West Virginia to the Sweet 16. Not a glamorous pick, but I tell you what, the Mountaineers, they're rowdy. They're rowdy down there. Coach, Doc, you got any piss poor picks?
I can tell you that's not going to happen.
I'm going to go baseball. I'll tell you what, baseball's coming up. You know, spring training's starting to get warmed up. Things are getting a little exciting. You know, a lot of moves been made in the league. And, you know, something you'll learn about me, I'm a New Englandite at home, you know, born and raised up in that region, moved around, but still in there. I'm taking the Red Sox to win the AL East. That's right. Yankees have all those moves. They got Judge and all that. I don't care, baby. Alex Bregman's here. He's here to save the team. Devers going to DH third base. Doesn't matter. They're going to figure out. Crochet's in. Sox to win the AL East. Put that one on the parlay.
Interessante. Doc?
Well, first off, baseball stinks. We should never talk about that again.
Agreed.
And then, I do not have a bet. No, because I don't bet, because that's illegal in my state.
What a law-abiding citizen. I'm so proud of you.
Well,
somebody's got to follow the rules.
That's right. Someone's got to. That's why our great doctor here will never write us a prescription for anything heavy. So
we've asked. Trust us.
So with that WVU pick, with that St. John's pick, and with that Boston Red Sox pick, my calculations say every $10 bet you win $10 million. That's exactly. And you can take that to a bank.
All right, before we transition, thank you for your piss poor picks. Good transition there. But before we transition into kind of in the same frame of a hopeful future, let's talk about the Tennessee Titans. What do the Tennessee Titans have to be excited about? What can their fan base say? You know what? There's hope for us yet.
Great answer.
Sorry, buddy. You're in it now.
I know. Well, I mean, so what they're probably going to do is probably going to take the number one overall pick, probably take Carter. But what they should do, trade it away, get more picks because they need a lot of help. They're going to stick with Levis. Not a good idea, but it's what they're going to do. He's fun to watch. Those picks, so.
I get the idea behind trading down to pick up more picks, and I agree with you. 100% probably the right move for them. I think Abdul Carr is the best dude in this draft. And if you can take him, take him. I mean, just saw what the Eagles did with all those guys up front, both on offense and defense. If you get a guy that can rush up, create havoc like that, if you can improve the offense a little bit, and I heard there's a particular defensive end in Cleveland that might want out, that you might have some capital to go get. Imagine Carter on one end and Myles Garrett on the other side. Just throwing that out there.
Myles Garrett went out of Cleveland because he wants to win. He's not going to go to Tennessee.
Anyway. He's going to end up in Detroit. That would be the best place.
What you need to know about all that is that if you're the Tennessee Titans, you have the least hope out of any of these teams.
I just hope the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Tennessee Titans take Travis Hunter, because that's a phenomenal waste of a draft pick. And I cannot wait for somebody in my division to waste a first-round draft, top 5 draft pick.
All right, well, that's a good segue. Let's talk about the draft real quick, okay? Because we have 2 of our teams picking within the top 10. Obviously, the Tennessee Titans with the number 1 overall pick, Jacksonville Jaguars at number 5 overall. The Colts have the 14th overall pick, and we scroll down to the Texans, who have the 25th overall pick. All right,
so starting
with the Tennessee Titans. All right, now there's a lot of speculation going around. We talked about it. We just touched on it. Trading around with that pick, are you excited about quarterbacks in this draft? And who do you take if you have that? If you decide, let's just say the Titans decide they are going to pick number 1. They're not going to trade away. They're going to keep number 1. Who are you taking at number 1? And that's for anybody to talk about.
I mean, I think they're definitely going to take Carter. They need help on the defensive line, and he's amazing talent. So
I think he's the best overall player in this draft, hands down. But again, it's called the Kings of Shit Mountain for a reason. I'm betting on Cam Ward out of Miami.
Tell you, what makes you go Cam Ward over Shador? Why not go Shador 1?
I just think everybody's talking about more of the intangibles and the Cam Ward ability that he has. He looks the part. I think he should be a Indianapolis Colts the way he quits on his team. But other than that, I think your boom or bust factor, I think, is a little bit easier to live with Cam Ward than it is with a Shedeur Sanders. I agree. I think if I'm picking, I'm going Abdul Carter, hands down.
Yep.
But I think that there is no quarterback in Tennessee right now. Let's be honest. All right, the one guy that is sitting there somewhere saying like, no, Will Levis is the dude. We just got to support him. Will Levis is not the dude. Okay, that's just they're going to need to get over that. So I'd be willing to say that they go Cam Ward. But what do I know? I'm a Jags fan.
You want to talk about cold hard truths? I'm going to say it. There's no franchise quarterback in this draft. The closest thing to it will be my boy from my alma mater, since we're talking about alma maters here, Tyler Shaw. He will be the best quarterback out of this league. He will play about 6-7 years. That's it. He'll be the longest lasting quarterback in this draft. Mark my words.
I don't care. I don't care if this episode never sees the light of day. Make sure we clip that and have that for when he gets cut after the first week of minicamp.
Hey, he'll be practice squad for a couple of years, but he'll come up. He'll be a solid Kellen Moore type quarterback.
why does anyone not talk about Will Howard? He's actually a winner, so.
Yeah, so was Trevor Lawrence.
That's a good point.
What about the Jags? Their swag. What do you think's going on at 5?
For the second year in a row, I'm going to sit here and tell you that we need secondary help bad. All right, we had opportunities to take great cornerbacks last season in the draft. We end up with BTJ, so it's hard for me to be completely against that. But Andre Sisco is hurt on the safety end. You could play around and move guys around a little bit. Is Campbell going to stay healthy? We just need the help. Teams are destroying us, throwing the ball against us. So my pick for that, who I think is the best overall defensive back in this draft, and probably, in my opinion, the second best overall player in this draft is not Travis Hunter. Holy crap. I almost had to off myself with that one. But the kid out of Michigan, Will Johnson.
Wow, that's a hot take.
I think Will Johnson is a better cornerback. I think Travis Hunter is an okay cornerback and an okay wide receiver. But I don't think he's got the longevity to be able to do that. He's not Dion, even though Dion was his coach. I think now that's the pick I want. What do I think they do? I think they take Travis Hunter if he's sitting there, because any idiot who doesn't know anything about football can sit there and say, "Oh man, the Heisman Trophy winner, that's the best pick we could get." And that's just not the case. All right. The Heisman Trophy winner does not correlate into an automatic stud, as history has shown. And in a lot of these drafts, a lot of these mock drafts, I'm looking at 2 right here now that have them going defensive line. And I like Abdul Carter. I think you have a hard time passing on Abdul Carter. I don't think Abdul Carter falls to 5, but if he's there and you take him, it's not a horrible pick. You have Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen. I don't think that you need to bring in a guy to possibly rotate one of those individuals and have them on the bench at any time. Also, I've seen a lot with Mason Graham. Maybe you put him on the interior and try and help you out there, since we took Eric Armstead and he's, about as solid as a glass chandelier. So I don't know. I there's a lot of guesstimating going on up at the top in the top 5. I like a Carter pick if he's there. I like Will Johnson. That's my preferred pick. But I think the Jags end up taking Travis Hunter at number 5.
You mentioned some cornerbacks, and while by no means do I think this dude's going to be a top 5, even a first-round draft pick, the cornerback was his name, Ryan Lane out of Navy. I was watching the combine earlier today, the first day of the combine, and I'm impressed. I think he's going to do well. So again, that's another hot take. I got Tyler Shaw and Ryan Lane. Boom, those are my two studs coming up in the next 5 years.
All right, what are the
since you're going there, Evil?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what are the Indianapolis Colts gonna do?
What do we not need is the question, and what we don't need is that's the answer. I think a big question, the big key is what are we doing with Ryan Kelly? Is Ryan Kelly coming back first and foremost? If he doesn't come back, we got to get that line solidified because he's phenomenal stud. I love him. He's been great. He was great out of Alabama. He's been great in the Colts since then. We need to keep him. If we keep him, the kid out of Penn State, the tight end, what's his name?
Tyler Warren.
Yeah. Again, I go back to quarterback's best friend. A young quarterback's best friend is a good running back, and then someone you can dump it off to. I think we got solid receivers, but our tight ends or whatever, we need someone who's big and physical, and that's exactly what Tyler Warren. And he played in a big and physical conference. It wasn't some Sun Belt conference or Midwestern conference. He was Penn State. It was, he competed against big boys. So I think Tyler Warren is going to be my guy if we can sign Ryan Kelly. If not, we need to really truly evaluate the all O-line because we can't have my quarterback keep getting tired every 3 plays. So that's my take.
And then finally, picking at 25, we got the Houston Texans. What are the Texans going to do? Nobody really cares about it at 25.
No, again, nobody cares about being down that low. You got to wait late in the draft. That's what happens when you win ball games, boys. You'll get there one day, I promise. But every mock draft and rankings I go see for the Titans, everybody's talking about receiver. And, I get it. Stephon Diggs, probably not coming back. I wouldn't re-sign him. You've got the issues with Tank Dell with his injury concerns, and I get that too. But your biggest problem is the offensive line. It is. That's the main reason C.J. Stroud was as rough as he was. And it's in the interior. Your center guard, the interior. Your tackles are okay. Tyus Howard's okay. But your big problems are in the interior. And the guy that I honestly like the most is the boy from North Dakota State, Gray Zabel. He's so far looked really good. He's a big boy, 6'6", 305. He can play inside at center. He can play a little guard. I don't think he's long enough in the arms to play tackle, but you've kind of got your tackles at least solidified, but you need interior line help. And if you're not going him, then I'd be okay looking at Tyler Booker from Alabama, one of those guys. And if there's nobody else, if all those linemen are gone, then fine. Go ahead and take a Mecca Ibuka if he falls to you. Go ahead and take a Luther Burden if he falls to you. But I can't stand just seeing receiver being the number one thing that this team needs. Everybody's talking about it. I get it. You need receivers, but the Chiefs showed you. It doesn't matter who you have, receiver, tight end, running back. You can't block anybody. It doesn't matter. So give me Gray Zabel, North Dakota State. Book it now.
Ooh, spicy take. I like it. Well, okay, so, talking about the draft, what are your late team needs? Okay, so Jacksonville, in my opinion, needs secondary help. The defensive line has been halfway decent. I think the defensive schemes that we had last year were absolute crap. I'm hoping that the boy we poached from the Packers, what is he, Campione, the linebackers coach, who's now our DC. I'm hoping that he's got some good some packages that he can go with. But I got to tell you that I think that the DBs need help. We got shredded in the pass game. You're keeping Foye Oluokun. You're keeping Devin Lloyd. You got Josh Hines Allen. You got Trayvon Walker. Your front seven is solid in Jacksonville, defensively speaking. You need help on the back end. And so I'm hoping we go DB. I think if Travis Hunter's there, we do it. I think if Travis Hunter is off the board, we go D-line. Mason Graham's probably the logical pick. That's what I've seen most from the experts, who definitely know more than me. But yeah, DB help. I'm hoping we get there. I think there's also some questions about some receiver depth. We brought in Gabe Davis. He didn't do anything. Christian Kirk was hurt. We had a lot of guys go down last year in the receiving core. So another second-round receiver, third-round receiver I'd like to see. Your running backs are solid. You'll take a young quarterback late in the draft, I think, too, to help out. But there's a lot of help that's needed in the secondary. If we draft the first 4 picks as a secondary pick, I'm all about it in Jacksonville. But what are some other late needs that we need? Start in Tennessee.
I mean, Tennessee
Well,
needs a lot still, but probably offensive line, and then they're going to get edge rusher, defensive line in the first couple rounds. So
I'd agree with that. I mean, it's like we said. I mean, we rip on the Titans here, but there's a lot of help that they do need. I mean, let's be honest about that.
The receiving core is terrible. I mean, who can you think of as a top receiver in Tennessee?
Okay, so
that's it. But
and so let me throw this hypothetical out at you. All right, because let's backtrack a little bit, talk about first round picks, number 1 overall picks. All right. Terriota McMillan, receiver out of Arizona.
I think he's good. I like him, but I'm not taking him number 1. I think if you're going to take a guy number 1, he is a franchise-altering player. And as good as receivers are nowadays, you can find them everywhere in the draft. And I just don't think you can take him number 1, even if he's Calvin Johnson. What did Calvin Johnson do for the Lions? Hell, what did Andre Johnson end up doing in the long-term history of the Texans? As good as he was, and I love him, Hall of Famer, but I don't think you can justify taking a receiver at 1 if you're Tennessee. I really don't think you can.
To add on to that, another hot take. We're doing hot takes all night long, right? Hot takes, hot takes. I don't know what the that means, but I think the wide receiver position is slowly becoming the running back position. What I mean by that is they're a dime a dozen. You throw a guy, get him in for 3-4 years, keep him while they're young, and kick him to the curb. You don't need him anymore. Get a new guy. Get a new guy coming in. You see that with the running backs. My thing is, as you all know, when we play this wonderful game called Madden or NCAA football on Xbox, I like speed. Speed, and hands. That's all you need. And you're not going to have a fast as hell 35-year-old wide receiver when you have this 22-year-old kid who's running a 4.440. I'm taking that 4.440 all day. So I think receivers are going to start becoming a revolving door of this NFL league right here.
Just remember, folks, one name when it comes to speed and receivers, John Ross.
He never got a shot. He never got a true chance in Cincinnati. That's my excuse. Because he was fast, man.
That's why one of us knows what they're talking about. The other one's a hot take guy. But just throwing that out there just for conversation.
Oh, Lord of mercy. All right, so Indy, late round picks for Indy. What do you got?
So I was watching some Senior Bowl practice because I do my research before I come onto this. And we had a guy from Sacramento State.
State.
Jackson Slater, baby, guard. I did some quick fact checking before I wanted to, be a professional here today. He didn't allow a sack or a QB hit the entire last season. He only had 3. Sacramento State.
Sac State, home of Marte Mapu.
So I'm telling you, this guy could be a long-term pro. I mentioned earlier the cornerback out of Navy. I think Lane the third. I think he's going to be phenomenal eventually if he gets a good team and gets good growth and development. But another Western Kentucky kid, another cornerback, because that's another thing we need. We need the secondary help. Upton Stout. I was watching him today during the combine as well. Nothing crazy, nothing flew by, but you could tell the kid's a football player. You could tell he wants to play. You could tell he's good at what he does. And I don't buy Western Kentucky. Not many good players have come out of there, in my opinion, to have put up a long-term.
You don't buy Western Kentucky, a Division I program, but you're all in on the kid from Sac State?
100%, baby. 100%. Because Western Kentucky is the third best school in the state. Sacramento, is that California?
3 schools in the state.
Like saying Marshall's the second best school in West Virginia.
Hey, doesn't matter. Sac State, we all got sacks here. So, that helps give it a little bit. So, I think the kid from Sac State is going to do well. Western Kentucky, time will tell. Well, we have Billy Zappi, right? He was a stud. Am I right? He's a stud. Best quarterback in the league, right? Oh, wait, no. Okay.
He's got a ring. Don't forget that. He's got a ring. Can't say Chiefs.
So does Jim
I
Sorgi.
take that back.
So does
They didn't win this year. He does not have a ring. Ring chase, he didn't get it. So I take
Carson
that back.
Wentz has a ring too. Okay.
Yeah, that is true.
So former Colt baby, another ring right there. All right.
Dear Lord in heaven. I'm just still shocked by the Western Kentucky Sac State thing. Anyways, Titans need help everywhere. Jags need help in the wide receiver and the secondary. Houston needs the O-line. Indy needs DB help. So a lot of help with some skill positions there. I completely agree with you. I think, with the football knowledge that I have been bestowed with and upon and coaching, your success runs through the offensive line. If you're talking about your offensive success, it comes through the offensive line. You can have an incredible quarterback, but if you can't protect that quarterback, if you can't, give him the ability and the time to throw, if you can't create some of those holes, a better O-line is better than your best running back, in my opinion, because it does. You hear the old terminology from coaches all the time. Oh, that hole was big enough to drive a semi-truck through, right? Hell, any of us could gain positive yards in the NFL if we had an O-line that could just block lights out for us. So I think always
on that note,
that's a hot take.
On that note, because there was a great thing I saw on the internet today. Can the average person gain 1 yard on 10 attempts on the NFL? I don't think so. I don't think I could gain a yard. Not one.
If you have the Eagles line, yeah, you will.
Okay, take away any. Okay, if you don't have a playoff team offensive line, if you have a Cincinnati Bengal offensive line,
the Chiefs offensive line,
fine, Chiefs. I'm not gaining a yard. No one in this call, no one in this podcast.
I'm gaining a
10
yard.
attempts.
10
not
attempts,
1 yard.
A yard.
Not 1 yard.
I'm not even taking the attempts. I'm just saving myself. Nope, I'm good.
I'll take 5 recently retired defensive linemen, Aaron Donald and 4 others.
Oh, geez.
With the current NFL offensive line team, I'm taking that defensive line stopping me 10 out of 10 times.
Wow,
that's a wild thought, though.
Freaking crazy.
I mean, do you want to get tackled by Aaron Donald today? I don't.
I don't want to get tackled by Aaron Donald ever. Not just today, tomorrow, 3 years
90?
from now.
No way. No way. Not one person on this. No.
I'd do it.
I'd try. Doesn't mean that'd happen.
Hopefully he hits me hard enough that I forget that I'm a Jaguars fan. Anyways, I think that's a good spot to kind of wrap it up here. Any facts that we need to go over? Any misnomers? Anybody? I think we got it all. I think everything we said was correct. Abraham Lincoln famously said, everything that you read on the internet is true. So
that's facts. It's fact.
That is a fact. Speaking of facts, I would like just to leave with everybody with a random fact, if you will, just because I am a factotum individual.
Swagger's useless fact of the day.
Did you know that killer whales, orcas, are actually the largest species of dolphin?
This has been Swagger's useless fact of the day. Well, how about that? What a way to send us out.
Oh, yeah, I just think that's great. I think, the more you learn, the more you know.
Does that mean we can date them now?
Huh?
I think that's a good place to end right there.
Anyways, thank you for joining us on this journey of, I'm sure, which will only end in our unbelievable success and all of us becoming millionaires. We have been the Kings of Shit Mountain. We look forward to talking to you next time. And just remember, when it comes to your NFL fandom, it could always be worse. You could always root for one of these teams. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time.
Peace.